Greetings RE fans, I'm Eurogamer Police Department's Eeon Kennedy, and in this here video I'll be attempting to show you every appearance of Resident Evil's famous side-parting sporter Leon S. Kennedy across both video games and movies. Not counting remakes, ports, cosmetic character skins or board games though, because otherwise I'll be here all bloody day. Even without those appearances though, I still managed to find a grand total of 30 entries for this list. So get yourselves settled in and enjoy this ludicrously long list of luscious Leons. The OG King of Leons debuted his luxurious side-parting in 1998's Resident Evil 2 for the PS1, where his first day working at the Raccoon City Police Department is ruined by a zombie outbreak and an unstoppable monster called the Tyrant. Although, to be fair, that still sounds preferable to my first day at work, which involved mountains of HR paperwork and 4 hours of unskippable online training courses that focused on refusing bribes from Saudi businessmen. Interestingly, a fairly unique and massively abridged port of Resident Evil 2 was released for Tiger Electronics' Game.com shortly after the launch of the original, but I literally just told you that I wasn't going to cover ports in this video, and I don't like lying, so that's as much as you're gonna get for that one.
Check it out.
If you thought Leon Kennedy looked cool when he was shooting zombies in the mush, wait until you see him doing a backflip nose grab in Trick and Snowboarder for the PS1. Unbelievably, this Capcom developed arcade snowboarding sim was Leon's second ever original appearance in a video game, where he joined Claire Redfield and a zombie cop as playable characters. Radical! Leon's next proper zombie-killing appearance arrived in the year 2000, in the form of the non-canon Resident Evil Gaiden for the Game Boy Color. Despite being front and centre on the box, Leon is actually only a side character in Gaiden, with the player actually controlling Barry Burton, who is on a mission to locate Leon, who has disappeared whilst investigating an ocean cruiser called the Starlight for BOWs, aka bioorganic weapons. But why is Gaiden considered to be non-canon? Well, right at the end of the game, we see Leon sporting a neck wound that is oozing green blood, which basically means that he was the BOW all along, and that the real Leon was probably dead the whole time. Spoilers, I guess. The obscure mobile game Resident Evil Zombie Buster launched in Japan in 2001, making it the very first mobile phone game for the franchise. Although this top-down shooter does feature Leon as a playable character, it doesn't really feature any story. Instead, all players have to do is shoot and kill waves of zombies as they trudge slowly towards the bottom of the screen. It does have three underwhelming boss battles though, featuring the Tyrant, a Yawn, and the most terrifying showdown of them all, a murder of crows.
Excuse me. Sir?
2005's Resident Evil 4 is arguably the game that finally introduced the Resident Evil franchise to the mainstream, and as such it's probably Leon's most popular appearance in the entire series. Set somewhere in rural Spain, where the only colours that seem to exist are various shades of brown, in Resident Evil 4, Leon has to babysit the president's high-pitched daughter, Ashley Graham, from a bunch of bloodthirsty villagers who are infected by a parasite called Las Plagas. Oh, and he also indulges in some absolutely terrible flirting with his handler Hunnigan, but those lines were mercifully removed in recent remakes and ports.
You know you're kinda cute without those glasses. Give me your number when I get back.
May I remind you that you're still on duty.
Story of my life.
Get down!
After what I'm presuming was a 3-year HR meeting due to subjecting his colleague to those cringe-inducing chat-up lines, Leon Kennedy returned in 2008 for his first cinematic appearance in the CG movie Resident Evil Degeneration. In the film, Leon reunites with his RE2 bestie Claire Redfield at the Harvardville airport after a bioterrorist releases the T-virus and turns a host of holidaymakers into hordes of hungry undead. Jeez, and I thought the post-Brexit passport queues were bad.
If you hadn't told them I was here, they would have ignored your call.
In a bizarre spin on the normal movie-inspired by a game production cycle, 2009's Resident Evil Degeneration for the Nokia N-Gage was a game inspired by a movie. The movie I just talked about, in fact. Set entirely during the Harvardville section of the film and featuring action-packed gameplay reminiscent to that of Resident Evil 4, Leon's fairly short and often forgotten airport adventure was ported to iPhone and BlackBerry devices a year later. Wow, remember Blackberries? Resident Evil The Darkside Chronicles may not have been Capcom's first stab at a first-person light gun game, but it was definitely one of the better ones, and it was the first one where Leon made a playable appearance. Featuring abridged retellings of memorable moments from Resident Evil 2 and Code Veronica, plus some brand new scenarios that gave a bit of backstory to the characters, specifically 2 missions where Leon teams up with his Special Forces pal and soon-to-be enemy Jack Krauser, The Darkside Chronicles is more of an on-rails anthology than a full game.
Come on, let's move.
Okay, I know that I've said a couple of times now that I wouldn't mention ports in this video, but 2009's Resident Evil Uprising for BlackBerry and Windows phones gets a bit of a pass because it's a reimagining of Resident Evil 2 rather than a full-on demake. Notable changes include brand new puzzles and completely different variations of the old ones, the removal of side characters such as Kendo and Marvin, and the deletion of entire areas like the Raccoon City streets. The real reason I wanted to show this game off though was because of this cheeky little Jill sandwich Easter egg that appears if you search through Barry Burton's desk. Delicious!
Defend the Earth!
I'm not 100% sure that this one counts as a proper appearance, but I'm chucking it in here anyway because, well, I'm a rebel and stuff. In Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3's Heroes and Heralds mode, Eeon Kennedy features not as a playable character, but as a card that you can add to a deck of 3, which give you special powers during the ensuing bout of fisticuffs. Leon's power gives you the ability to temporarily increase your attack power upon a successful snapback, which means absolutely nothing to me, but allegedly it's a fairly rare card to get, so that's exciting, I guess. Resident Evil Damnation is Leon's second outing on the silver screen, and while this CGI movie from 2012 is part of the prime canon for the series, it tells a fairly original story, with only minor links to the events of previous games. Set in a fictional republic of the former Soviet Union, Leon is once again back on the track of BOWs, which are being used in a European civil war. Oh, and it's got Ada Wong and Hunnigan in it, so that instantly makes it awesome. 2 film appearances in 1 year? Never mind BOWs, Leon's gonna get an Ego W at this point. Unfortunately, Resident Evil Retribution is nowhere near as good as Damnation though, mainly due to the fact that it is the 6th entry in Paul W.S. Anderson's dogshit live-action series starring Mila Jovovich.
She always has a plan.
In Retribution, the Leon Kennedy you bought from Temu leads a resistance team assembled by Albert Wesker as they try to rescue Alice from Umbrella. It's a terrible film, and this Leon Kennedy character was only added in as a fan service afterthought close to filming, replacing a character called Magnus who featured in the original script. In a small act of mercy for Leon fans everywhere, this version of Leon was killed off-screen between the end of this movie and the one that followed it, so at least we can all kind of pretend like it never happened? Capcom's multiplayer flopfest Operation Raccoon City came out in 2012 and instantly got owned for being bobbins, a trend that Capcom has stubbornly continued to follow with every other multiplayer Resident Evil game since. Leon makes a bunch of appearances in cutscenes throughout this non-canon game's 2 co-op campaigns, but as you play as the baddies in this one of the endings actually allows players to kill Leon and execute Claire with a bullet to the face. Brutal.
Sorry, we've got orders.
Leon also features as a playable character in the Heroes multiplayer mode, which is nice, but good luck finding anyone online to play this with. Those lobbies probably have less life left in them than Leon does in this shot.
Command, the cop is dead.
Oh, Resident Evil 6, the batshit crazy compilation of action-packed nonsense that nearly killed the franchise in 2012, is routinely called the worst game in the series. However, out of the 4 campaigns available in this game, Leon's at least came the closest to reproducing some classic RE-style survival horror. Considering how little he actually contributes to the overall story, however, it's safe to say that his appearance here is also a massively forgettable one. Resi 6 must have done a bit of a number on our poor Leon, because it would take another 3 years before he mustered up the courage to show off his side parting in a new game. And even then, it was only as a playable character in Resident Evil Revelations 2's raid mode, who can be unlocked after obtaining a certain number of completion medals. 2015's Project X Zone 2 for the 3DS featured a huge cast of crossover characters from across Bandai Namco, Capcom, Nintendo, and Sega's collection of franchises. Leon's role in this turn-based tactical game is rather limited though, due to him being a support class character only. But if, for some unknown reason, you've always dreamed of watching him chat to Chun-Li from Street Fighter 2, this is probably the only place you can do it. Interestingly, this might also be the first and only time that Leon and Jill Valentine are ever seen interacting with one another before the events of 2023's CGI movie Resident Evil Death Island. We had to wait a whole year before we got another chance to see Leon in a video game, but unfortunately this appearance was limited to a few customizable cosmetics for the multiplayer portion of Capcom's crappy Resi spin-off Umbrella Corps. What makes this one worth mentioning in this list, however, is that the single-player section, titled The Experiment, features an excellent recreation of the village from Resident Evil 4, complete with an unending horde of angry villagers and a lovely burning police officer at its centre. I don't think that poor guy's ever gonna be put out. 2017's Resident Evil Vendetta gave Leon a starring role alongside Chris Redfield and Rebecca Chambers, and in this CG animated movie, the trio attempts to stop an airborne virus from wiping out America. Despite having some pretty awesome action scenes, the film actually reviewed pretty terribly and is considered to be the weakest entry in the series, which could explain why poor old Leon here has been driven to the drink.
Hey, another bottle here.
There's a very brief look at Leon in 2018's Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, in which he appears as a spirit rather than just nailing a bunch of spirits like he did in Vendetta. And don't worry, this doesn't mean he's dead. A spirit in Smash is basically a card that can be used as a buff to boost your fighter's stats or provide unique abilities in battle. Leon's spirit is a level 2 defense class who buffs item throw, and he appears in-game in his Resi 4 form thanks to this magnificent sparkling PNG. Ooh, exciting. 2019 was the year that the excellent Resident Evil 2 remake came out, but I'm not doing remakes in this video, so instead, let's take a look at Teppen, a free-to-play digital collectible card game, aka a gacha game from Capcom that was released in 2019. At the time of publishing this video, Teppen has little over a month left before Capcom pulls the plug and ends the live service portion of the game for good. Because that's the game-killing world we live in now. The majority of the decks in Teppen are based on Capcom IPs from the past and present, so of course Eeon Kennedy features as an epic rarity unit card that grants effect damage +1 to all action cards and unit cards in a player's deck. Well, I think I can see why this one got cancelled. While the 2019 Raccoon City collaboration event quest for Monster Hunter World's Iceborne DLC was technically just an event that allowed you to earn in-game cosmetics that made you look like Eeon Kennedy or Claire Redfield, I'm including it on this list because there were some fairly unique Resi-style gameplay elements in here which involved players succumbing to a zombification effect if they didn't find, combine, and ingest some familiar red and green herbs as they hunted. By completing this event, players could also unlock a raft of Resi-themed items, including 3 types of pendant, one of which was a tribute to the Tofu survivor, and a bunch of room decor like a typewriter that lets you save your game, and some classic RE background music for the music player. Cool. Ice cool. You've got to fail pretty hard to make a movie version of Leon that RE fans ridicule more than the knockoff Leon from Resident Evil Retribution, but that's exactly what happened in 2021's Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. While the film itself remains faithful to the game in lots of places, it completely misunderstood the Eeon Kennedy brief, turning him from a slightly cheesy but competent action hero into a bumbling nerd who gets bullied by all the other characters. Hell, the very least they could have done was to give Leon his signature side parting, but, well, they couldn't even manage that.
Leon? Shoot him in the head.
Thankfully, the Netflix-exclusive CG miniseries Resident Evil Infinite Darkness also arrived in 2021, and with it came a reminder of what a truly video game-accurate haircut for Leon looks like. Set between the events of Resi's 4 and 5, in Infinite Darkness, Leon and Claire head to the White House to investigate another zombie outbreak. It's fine as a Resident Evil TV show, but for anyone who's not fully invested into the lore of the games and the movies that came before it, it's also complete nonsense. That same year, Dead by Daylight celebrated its 20th update since launch with a huge Resident Evil crossover collaboration that introduced another haircut-accurate Eeon Kennedy as a playable character alongside Jill Valentine and the Nemesis T-Type as the playable killer. The gameplay for the crossover itself stayed true to the established Dead by Daylight asymmetric multiplayer formula, but Leon himself came with a few unique character perks, like being able to heal without making grunts of pain, and the ability to craft flashbangs whilst hiding in a locker. Which is better than I'd be able to manage if I was hiding in a locker from the Nemesis T-Type. If that was me, the only thing I'd be crafting would be a poop in my pants.
Been a while since we fought together, Captain.
Doing nothing but recon's gotten me out of shape.
Leon made his first and only appearance in 2022 in the terrible team-based deathmatch shooter Resident Evil Reverse, aka the latest in a long string of Capcom's failed attempts to inject the RE universe into a multiplayer setting. Surprising absolutely none of the 10 or so people who actually played the game, Reverse was shut down in July of 2025, which, to be fair, means it lasted a lot longer than most of us thought it would.
Leon?
Well, what do you know? Jill Valentine.
After 25 years of existence, Eeon Kennedy finally interacts in person with Jill Valentine in 2023's CG movie Resident Evil Death Island. This forgettably schlocky action flick sees all of RE's big names head to Alcatraz Island in order to thwart a plot involving virus-dispersing drones, and it features a fairly tense and pretty cool action scene in a sewer that sees Leon and Jill fending off a brand new breed of lickers. A Match 3 video game is probably the last place you'd expect to see Eeon Kennedy show his face, and yet here he is swishing his side parting in 2023's collaborative Capcom tie-in Puzzles and Survival X Resident Evil. Despite some fairly impressive CG trailers that show off moments of epic action inspired by events from the RE2 and RE4 remakes, Puzzles and Survival X Resident Evil's actual gameplay is exactly what it looks like. A copy and paste gem-swapping Match 3 game with a slapped-on resi skin that aims to drain your wallet with in-app purchases faster than you can say Jack Baker. Part survival game, part tower defense, all soulless, money-sucking mobile slop, State of Survival continues the 2023 trend of Capcom letting shady mobile developers slap Leon's likeness into a game that's only true purpose is to funnel cash from whales into the developers' pockets. Grim. Possibly inspired by the amount of money that State of Survival and Puzzle and Survival made, in 2025, Capcom published its own live service RE mobile game that had the wholly original name of Resident Evil Survival Unit. Developed by Joy City Corporation and released on iOS and Android, Survival Unit is at least a standalone resi game, rather than just a shameless reskin. And it's a pretty successful standalone resi game at that, surpassing 2 million downloads within its first 10 days on the stores. Oh, and yeah, Leon's in it, but good luck getting your hands on him if you just go the free-to-play route because, well, Capcom loves money way more than it loves you.
You there, Leon?
And finally, it's not even out yet, but it is out soon, and as we've already seen from the many previews and trailers that have been pushed out on the run-up to its release, an older, gruffer, but nevertheless still side-parted Eeon Kennedy will be returning in Resident Evil Requiem, and this time, he's got a hatchet. Will Resident Evil Requiem prove to be one of the best appearances of Leon yet though? Well, Capcom has suggested that this Leon will be a continuation of the Leon that we saw in the RE4 remake, which means we can expect to see him performing many a roundhouse kick in between blasting the faces off of the undead with a variety of high-powered firearms. And that, my fellow survivors, was every incarnation of Eeon Kennedy across games and movies. Unless I missed any. Did I miss any? Let us know in the comments below. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and make sure to subscribe to Eurogamer because we've got plenty of Resident Evil Requiem coverage on the way just for you on the run-up to release and beyond. Goodbye. No, not you, Leon. Come back. It's your first day on the job. We're severely understaffed, Leon. Leon!